This is the OPPO A98 5G, the newest addition to OPPO's A-Series, which also happens to be their best smartphone in that said lineup. This phone packs a Snapdragon 695 5G chipset with a 120Hz display and a microscope. I've been using this phone for a few weeks now, so in this video, I'm gonna focus on three main things that you should really know about: the performance, cameras, and its highlight features. Before anything else, let's take a quick glance at how this phone looks. The A98 shares the same design language of OPPO's recent A-series of phones. In fact, it would be pretty hard to tell them apart even if you place them side by side. It looks incredibly similar to the A58 they've also recently released. But if I'm not mistaken, from what it looks like, this design originated from the OPPO Reno 80, only with this one having flat sides. It's also nice that the camera bump isn't too thick on this one, making it not stand out too much. This build is hard plastic material, but you can also tell that no part feels hollow. Oh, and they also retain the 3.5mm headphone jack, which is something I'm sure a lot of people would appreciate. At the front of this phone, what we'll mostly be looking into is a 6.72-inch screen with a resolution of 2400 by 1080 pixels, with a refresh rate of 120Hz. Much like other OPPO phones we've experienced, this one is also very bright. Using this outdoors, we'll have enough room to push the display further during bright sunny days. This is an IPS panel, and we can see some characteristics of that at its edges, where it shows some darker areas. This may not bother most people, but if you're used to using an OLED, you will likely notice it. Being a 120Hz panel, the response of the screen feels really good, which actually makes the phone feel faster than what it can actually provide. Running on the Snapdragon 695 chipset, we already have an idea of what to expect from this phone. This is a pretty common chipset we see on these more affordable phones, which I may say performs decently. It's by no means on the level of any flagship chipset or even a few generations older, but it's also very reliable and is capable of running most games at modest frame rates. Sure enough, the performance on the A98, this was also very competent, hovering around 30 to 50 FPS in games like Call of Duty Mobile at high settings. The A98 was up to the task. Snappy performance in action, navigating our character, this phone gets the job done very satisfyingly. I even managed to rank from a starter to legendary using this phone, which I can say is a pretty compelling account to signify the performance you can actually get out of this. Sure, it gets a few slowdowns from time to time, but I never really lost a game to the point where I would blame the phone for slowing me down. It's mostly just me being a bad gamer. What I may say is something that I truly appreciate on this phone is its sound quality. This phone features a stereo speaker setup which has OPPO's Ultra Volume feature. This lets the speakers run at 200% at its max volume. This is great for the casual sound trip, which is enough to fill a small room, but what I really enjoyed here is because it's a stereo speaker setup, when playing games like COD, there's enough sound to let you know where the action is happening. Hearing something from the left or right speaker indicates where I should bring my attention to, and it's something that just adds to the experience of playing these games. The A98 5G packs 3 cameras at its back, with a 64MP main shooter, a 2MP depth sensor, and a 2MP 40x micro lens, which we've seen on the OPPO Reno 80. Starting with the micro lens, technically, the performance feels almost exactly like the Reno 80. In fact, I think it's safe to say, OPPO might be using the same cameras for both these phones. It's still a fun camera to play with, and still very effective in impressing our friends with the insane zooming capabilities. For its main camera, however, I did not find the A98 to have as adequate capturing capability as its other OPPO siblings. While it's very capable of capturing beautiful images using this, you will notice that in most aspects, the main shooter often falls short. Outdoor shots sometimes lack contrast and saturation, which have a tendency to look lifeless. Indoors, even with enough indoor lighting, shots still lean towards looking grainy and soft and lacking in detail. The same is the case with the front-facing camera, which I had hoped would have a similar camera to the Reno 8 series, having the same megapixel count, but we've got very different results. Images on all cameras are passable at best. A very welcome addition to the A98 is its fast charging capability. This may well be an indication that OPPO is already including faster charging speeds in their A-series. And on the A98, its SuperVOOC charger took 1 hour and 3 minutes to charge from 0 to 100%. While you can expect the battery life to last about one whole day on regular use, if you're doing heavy gaming, do expect to run about 4 to 5 hours of straight use before needing to charge. Technically speaking, the A98 is mostly just a basic phone with a few fancy features borrowed from OPPO's array of smartphones. At the price of $18,999, despite the things that we've liked about this is still not an easy phone to recommend. Sure, if you've been eyeing the micro lens of the Reno 8T, but that's just not within your budget yet, then this would be the best option to go for. And if you're really a big fan of OPPO's A-series, then by all means, the A98 5G is their best offering. However, the unimpressive camera performance and the steep price tag, it's not surprising to see some folks dismissing this one and just looking elsewhere. There's nothing really wrong with this phone, it's just that there's so many options out there that may bring better bang for your buck. Like a more affordable alternative which packs similar specs to this one is the OnePlus Nord CE3 Lite we've also previously reviewed. If you're interested in that, feel free to check out our review right here. Anyway, once again, this is Andre from TechLocal. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you on the next video.